Welcome to episode 130 of the High Volume Hiring Podcast. I am Stephen Rothberg, founder of College Recruiter job search site, and I am here today to be corrected over and over and over again. And if you could have heard the conversation in the green room, then I would be hiding under a rock right now. But Jeanette,
on that note,
good to see you.
Hi, everyone. Good to see you too. Jeanette Leeds, HR Tech Advisor, CEO of College Recruiter. And I'm super, super psyched about today's episode because we have Matt Charney, one of my favorite people in the HR tech space. So just have to throw that out there. So welcome to the High Volume Hiring Podcast.
Thank you for having me. Apparently, it's a hot ticket. So I think I've been waiting a year for this. So I appreciate it.
We do book out 6 months, at least in advance. Yeah. It's just crazy. It's awesome. So, okay. So we're here to talk about, I love this topic, literally how money tech and strategy just intersect within HR tech, work tech, all of that. But first, just in case someone doesn't know who you are, because I know now you're officially Cal & Co. principal over there. Just do a quick background on who the heck are you?
Yeah, and I'm also the executive editor for Mediabistro, which nothing but fun. That's actually the fun part of my job is I get to write one piece of entertainment content a week, and then the rest about HR technology. But yeah, so. So my name is Matt Charney, and I have been working in this industry for a really long time. Grok says when I asked it for a biography a second ago, I'm the Ernest Hemingway of HR technology, which is probably accurate in as much as paying attention to it makes me want to blow myself in the head sometimes. But I've been doing this for a really long time, and right now I'm actually working on a longitudinal research project on exactly this topic. So excited to share both some of the early findings and some of the stuff that I see going on within the space. And hopefully you can correct me when I say something that's empirically incorrect. So.
I don't think we have enough time for that. No, just
Love it. So kick us off. What is the most I don't know, what's the headline on some of the research that you're starting to see here? Because there's so many ways we can go through this.
There really are. So I would say, and this is largely ignoring the capital side of the equation, although that is starting to precipitate a lot of things. Certainly the fraudulent candidate fake problem, I think, is being caused by private markets. But beyond that, I think that what you're seeing is an infusion of capital into high volume. You've seen, I think that in June alone, there are 3 deals that were over $20 million in either seed or Series A, some acquisitions going on in the space. So it's been neglected a long time by tech, and even still this day, you go to a lot of national chains or high volume retailers, you'll have paper applications and a very manual process. So you're just starting to see now, I think, the impact of a lot of technology on a space that hasn't had it, but I don't know that it's A, necessary, and B, it's necessarily focused on the problem. And the reason why is that the technology side and the capital side are solving for a demographic problem, which is a real problem. There aren't enough workers. Workforce participation is down. But what they're actually not solving for, I don't know if it's a technical problem, is it's not that there aren't enough workers. It's that there aren't enough people willing to accept the conditions of employment of high volume workers.
Yeah.
And so that's not a problem that capital can solve unless it's being reallocated into things like schedule flexibility, benefits, and other things like that. But at the same time, while labor supply is not an abstraction, it's true, right? But it's very local, occupational, and shift specific, down to where I could be at the same warehouse and get thousands of applicants for my daytime job and 0 for the night shift, right, at the same place. And I don't know that that's a problem that it could be solved by anything other than reallocating funds away from where you would traditionally do it into actually trying to retain or at least make the employment situation interesting enough where people would take a job rather than just drop out of the workforce is what we're seeing.
Yeah.
So you're not a fan of putting lipstick on a pig, and that's great. Let's talk about something that you just said. I want to dig into that because I think what you were saying was that the HR tech community has created a lot of the problems around fake applicants.
Yeah, well, my goodness.
Let's not.
Well,
go by.
Yeah.
Dig in. Let's dig in.
Let's dig. Yeah. So, I knew the minute I saw that Wired article about like the North Korea, I'm like, okay, another like single outlying problem that's going to suddenly command a bunch of capital, and I was right. And I believe that if you look at the data that's out there, it does suggest that there's a problem in the sense that it's saying fake candidates or fake profiles. Well, I would argue that LinkedIn, which claims 4 billion users, and literally half the world does not have an active LinkedIn account. So this has been a problem from some time, but I don't know how like insidious that's been to the hiring process. But more importantly, it really like maybe a knowledge work. Like you may have but when it comes to high volume, because you do have a lot of locations like essentially buying for corporate and then redeploying those kind of same instances for high volume, it's just, I don't see, even if it was a fake candidate, what the threat is for like a warehouse worker or a home health aide, right? But beyond that, the bigger problem is that I think of the market is, fake job listings. And the fact that, Ken Paxton, who I'm not a big fan of, sued LinkedIn, also not a big fan, over the prevalence of fake jobs. It's a huge problem, and it's one that's way more important. So essentially, we've been talking about candidate experience for a really long time. Mm-hmm. And now we're saying, you know what? Forget that, because we don't even know if you're a candidate. And I think that by virtue of the fact that you are screening out humans, this does not have a 100% success rate, no technology will. But it's like, isn't it the argument against capital punishment? If it's one wrongfully convicted person executed, then that it's not morally worth it. I feel that exact same way about reading out real people who want to work, just to be clever, to detect it. If it is a problem, that is the vendor's responsibility to fix. They should not be allowed to offer new products to fix an information security problem that they caused in the first place.
Yeah, that is a very, very fair statement. I want to go back to something around capital flowing into this area. I mean, interesting, high volume, right? It's been neglected. Why do you think, is it that all of a sudden, and it's not all of a sudden, it's been building, but like, why did all of that money just flow? Is it literally, do you think, are you just seeing it's because of like, okay, all the security, this and that? Like, is it literally that? And then maybe also take, like, I just think it's so interesting, high volume, how it's literally so manual, right? People walk in, it's paper-based, it's just old school, right? And for so many, so like the combination, let's talk a little bit more about the combination there.
Yeah, so you do have, again, a lot of paper-based, but then you have an equal problem, which is there is that technology, but many frontline candidates don't have the ability to access it. So things like just applying for a job, like it's very difficult to do if they're not at home with a Wi-Fi signal or any of that, and it's mostly on their phone. So that's one side of the problem. But I think the reason, if I'm being honest, that money's flowing into the space is because it's pricing model.
Yeah.
So one, you have a large total addressable market that's gone largely untouched or unaddressed by major players, right? So you're just starting to see like the SAPs and Workdays of the world kind of go into the space. Oracle, which is the largest player by market share, still hasn't. So there's that. It's just giant untapped space. Decision making is often decentralized. So it's easier to get a product through procurement at like a multi-unit, multi-franchise, because you have multiple decision makers. So you'll have 6 or 7 different systems running. But I think the biggest reason is this, and it's very simple. We've gone from flat-based fees to either tiered or per employee or transaction fees. So by high volume, I stand to make a lot more money when I'm hiring a giant volume of candidates that has to go through these steps, and then those same candidates turn over at around a 60% clip. That's good money under the new pricing models. And that's honestly, as much as I hate to say it, why I think you are seeing the influx of cash.
So it's so interesting, because I just want to talk about the pricing models, because my background is so much high volume, campus recruit, it's all, again, it's like masses and masses. And so I've seen a pendulum switch where like years ago, 20 years ago, the pricing model was variable, right? It was based on usage, based on people, based on number of whatever, right? Yeah. And then it went to this flat rate. Again, at least in this more niche area. And so it's so fascinating to hear you say, okay, now this is like changing. Is it just changing for like high volume? Or are you seeing the pricing model also change for just in general, right? It's like,
it is changing. It is changing in general, right, actually. It is changing, right? But for different reasons.
Yeah, so let's talk about that.
Yeah, so there's permissibility that has opened up because you're seeing the enterprise solutions start to go a lot more variable cost. Right. The reason for that is simple. Most of them very heavily rely on external LLMs. So the expense of running all of those tokens through their white label instance preempts the ability to set any sort of conservative like bar, even at a tiered pricing, right? Because you don't know, for example, like what an employee's usage would be. If I'm sourcing candidates in a market, I could hit $160 worth of call credits like with a single source. So I think that vendors, because they don't have enough historical data to build in that to pricing assumptions, you have to start charging variability. Yeah. As AI comes more prevalent, that trend is going to continue, and it's about to get way worse when you have MCPs introduced, which is essentially going to be running all of these agents in single instance. So as those operational costs skyrocket, you are going to see, again, more money start flowing into the areas where it makes sense, and high volume is absolutely where it makes sense for reasons that are like very intuitive in the naming of this category.
Yeah. Okay, so one other, I got to do a follow up on this, like because I'm so.
Like I said, the less I said, the better.
When I was on the employer side, right, like, or the RPO side, like, big issue, again, looking at employers, we don't like variable costs, right? We want to know what our budget is, right? And then we want to know, and that's it. So, like, talk about that a little bit, like how we have two different sides here. What are you seeing? How are everyone handling it? Any advice?
Well, so I think employers do make the mistake. Much like I do when I rent a car or buy a plane ticket, I look at the lowest base pricing. I'm like, okay, cool. That's $160 for the day. Yep, seems like a deal. And then you start stacking in all the fees, and then you're like, oh crap. And I think that's sort of, they go in with a lower price point, but what a lot of people who don't have procurement particularly involved in the process fail to ask, what is the total cost of this contract? What are the variables? Why are you pricing it this way? So that's, I think advice on both sides is going to be transparency there. I certainly think asking things around the amount of tokens or, what LLMs are you using are very pertinent questions, because a call on Anthropic costs 60 times what one on OpenCloud is, right? So that is an important data point that I think a lot of people are missing out on. But I would also say it ultimately, I went to McDonald's, they are at the corporate level now an SAP customer, but at a franchise level, still taking paper applications. Yep. I would argue that I was still able to get my food. So I don't know how much AI is needed in this space in the first place. Certainly from a supply chain perspective, a purchasing perspective, everything operationally, but I don't know about when it comes to this, right? And a lot of these AI use cases are about screening in the right candidate, but you don't have degree requirements for most of them. Right. The roles are essentially interchangeable, and you're like, culture fit doesn't really exist in a shift-based environment. It's more of a team dynamic, which is almost impossible to assess against. Yeah. So I don't think that in this case, if you're talking about a very heavy reliance on a product that says they're native AI, or you're very much asking for one of two things to happen. Either you're going to absorb the cost of not using an instance because you went in on cheap, or you're going to overrun the cost that you expected because you are basically doing, you're looking at the wrong issues, right? Like, oh, how do I match the skills with the position? Well, who cares if it's like overnight warehouse associate? So you're going to all of a sudden start seeing abandonment there. But that's kind of, I think, the hedge that you see private capital playing. If you're on a 3-year contract, then I stop caring because the company's going to flip. Yeah. So,
do you have time? Can I ask one quick question?
You can. Okay. Sorry, but not
no. I'm very happy because actually the stuff you asked, Jeanette, those were on my list too. So it's like great. You mentioned a minute ago, Matt, about the difference in prices between tokens and LLMs. And what I've been hearing recently is that the frontier labs, OpenAI, Anthropic, et cetera, that the cost of running these queries, does this resume match with this job, for example, is about 1/30th if you're using one of the Chinese open source models.
Correct.
I'm concerned about the security issues with that. If you're a Fortune 1000 company and you're sending 1 million candidate resumes into a Chinese LLM, all of those have close ties to Chinese military, Chinese government. Is that something we need to be concerned? I mean, certainly for like a security related position, if you were like the, FBI or something, I get it. But if you're Amazon and you're hiring warehouse workers, do they need to care about that? Does it?
So no, on a person like an employee level.
Okay.
On an enterprise level, yes, absolutely, but that's not an HR function, right? And we learned if you recall, when Sony got hacked, was through their SAP instance back when the interview dropped and they leaked all those emails. It was through their SAP R3. So that's not fake candidates or fake employees. That is a state actor actually doing a targeted attack. Nothing is going to stop them from doing that on the HR side. Let's also look at Oracle. To my earlier point, they're about 80% market share in terms of overall HCM transactions. They also now have TikTok in their code base. So do I think it's a problem? Yeah, but it's going to happen. And I think that there is always a trade-off between cost and convenience.
Yes.
And that price differential is like back when Uber used to be cheap. Essentially, they are trying to get the data more than they are trying to acquire the business. So it's a slippery slope, but I hope that everyone would know that is just a giant hoovering of personal data points, much like X, in order to try to either sell ads or obtain useful information in aggregate, but not against individual employees, though. That's asinine.
So Jeanette, I think Matt is basically saying it's fine for me to continue to buy my pharmaceuticals on Temu.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes. But just don't put them in the washing machine, though.
Exactly.
It won't survive.
So, Matt, thank you very much as always. The man who puts the R into snark. It was.
I like that.
There we go.
But seriously, thank you for sharing. Thank you for the work that you do. You've always been a voice of it's entertaining to read you, to listen to you, and informative. And that is
super informative always.
That's a hard thing to do, and you do it really well.
Well, thank you. I'll be sending the gift in the mail. So appreciate your time, guys, and always happy to talk shop.
Until
Cheers.
next time. Thanks, guys.
Later.
Take care, everyone.